All right. Hey, everyone. Welcome and thank you for coming to this basic bike mechanics online workshop. And I'm coming to you from my home shop right here, located in Vancouver, BC. And that's located on the traditional ancestral lands of the Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh peoples. It's important to me personally to know the history of the lands where we live on in order to promote a more just way of life, a better way of living for all peoples together. Thank you. So I've chosen to begin that with a better state of mental and physical health, and that's by riding my bike. I work for Hub Cycling. We're a nonprofit. We promote more people on bikes more often in the various ways you can see on the screen right there. Lots of cool programs. I work in the bike education program mostly. Today, I'm stoked to be here doing basic bike maintenance. So for more information, check us out on hub.ca. So if you could flip to the next screen, thank you. So my name's Ari. I go by the pronouns he and they. As you can see, those are some thrown together pictures of some stuff I do, including the bike touring picture there. Proud of that one. I'm a bike advocate, bike educator. Biking is my main mode of transportation. It was my way of getting back into health when I'm not doing courses for Hub or workshops. I am a mechanic with our community bikes. I also run a free repair clinic on the downtown east side at Oppenheimer Park. So I've been mechanicking for like a long while now, I guess, for like a long time. And when I started, it was pretty confusing to me, but as I went on and broke things down, it got easier and easier. It was all just from a lot of practice, really. And that's what it takes. So yeah, and with me here co-hosting is my friend Lillian, who will be fielding all your questions. Would you like to do an intro?
Yeah, for sure. I can quickly introduce myself. So I'm the bike education coordinator at Hub Cycling. So I work coordinating our education programs across mainly Metro Vancouver, but also the province. We run education programs in school and also for the general public, like the webinar today.
Awesome. Thanks, Lillian. So I think we have a little survey for you all to fill out here. If you could throw that up, Lillian. Thank you. And we want to just check in to see like where people are at with their comfort on bike mechanics and bike maintenance. So feel free to put some of that on. And while you're filling those results out, let's go on to the workshop overview. So today we're going to cover what you need to ride your bike a lot more often, and having a working bike, it makes all the difference in having you wanting to ride your bike more often instead of doing driving or taking public transit or what have you ways of transport. My story is I kind of rode my way back into health. I was injured about a decade ago. I was working for a really big corporation at the time, driving for my commute back and forth from Delta to Vancouver. These days, my main mode of transportation is my bicycle. I've almost entirely dropped using cars. They are super useful, so I still do use them. But I really love riding my bike because it's put me in a way better state of health and a way better state of mental health. So we're going to be covering all this stuff you see on the screen, doing some basic bike mechanics to make our bikes run better. So cool. It seems like It seems like 64% of people is confident in getting their chain onto their bike. That's awesome. 9% somewhat, and 27% no. So that's great. Lateral Mary at Gmail did not receive the survey. It seems like 14% of us are, so far anyways, are confident in changing and patching a flat. 27 somewhat. That's awesome. 59% no.
If you didn't receive the
Okay.
survey, don't worry, because we're going to go through these things anyway. So we'll have a chance to go over how to do all these things. I'll stop right now.
Absolutely. So awesome. So let's move on to the next slide. There we go. All the parts of the bike. You got to know all the parts of the bike. Pretty complicated, pretty confusing if you're all new to this stuff. Yeah, I know when I was starting out, that's a lot of information there. So in order to make it easier, we're going to break it down to the ABCs. Much better, right? A lot more simple there. Basically, ABC, A is for air, B is for brakes, C is for chain and crank, and sometimes cables. Q, quick, is for your quick release levers. And that's about it. That's all we need to know. Nice and simple there. So I'm going to do actually a demo of an ABC quick check. Sometimes they're called ABC quick drop check. Sometimes they're called, there's many names for it. I can't remember them all right now. But let me know if y'all can still hear me or if I need to move backwards or forward so you can all see the bike in the frame. This is my bike. It's a Giant Defy 2009-ish.
We can see it great area and sounds good as well.
Awesome. So I use a thumbs up method for my check. So first A for air, check the air in our tires, right? We need air to roll on. I just put my thumbs into my tires here and see how they feel. They should feel hard like a potato and not soft like a rotten tomato. And if they're hard like a potato, then thumbs up. If they feel soft like the other fruit, we'll need to grab a pump and pump them up. Mine are great, thumbs up. Moving on, B is for brakes. Your bike may look a little bit different than mine. This is a road bike. You may have flat bar brakes, but they both have levers. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna power squeeze both my levers, okay, at the same time. And I'm gonna make sure at this point that I can rock my bike forward onto my front wheel. And I'm gonna rock, I'm not lifting, I'm rocking my bike backwards onto my back wheel. That just ensures my brakes are functioning fine. If they're not, I'm gonna take a deeper look into it. Also note here on your levers, check to see if there's a thumb space there. Okay, if there's a thumb space or if you have smaller hands, 2 fingers, okay? Mine are good, thumbs up. Awesome. Now we're gonna move on to the C for crank, chain. Look at my cables, they look all good. I'm gonna grab my crank right here and I'm gonna spin this backwards to see if I notice if the chain's really smooth or not. My chain's relatively smooth. There's a little bit, and you could feel this through the drivetrain if anything's gritty or crunchy. Mine might need a little bit of adjusting, so my thumbs up doesn't quite make it for the chain. Also at this point, I'm gonna take a look and see if my chain's dirty, if it's all black when it's not supposed to be, if it's covered in mud, muck, anything like that. Maybe it's orange from rust, meaning I might need to replace my chain. So quick, I'm gonna turn the bike around quickly. Can you all see that? This is my quick release for my back wheel here. I'm just gonna give it a little flick. It's very secure, very good. I'm also gonna give this a little flick. It won't come loose easily. So both my quick releases are good. So we did ABC quick at a drop path. See if we hear anything strange. Nope, not at all. My bike almost passed except for that little gear hitch, which we will be adjusting later. I'm going to refer back to this ABC quick check throughout the course of this workshop. Pretty easy stuff, right? Yeah, easy. Is everybody still with me here? Nothing too complicated. Try and keep things simple.
Got a quick question, Ari, about what a quick release is for.
Quick release is what holds your wheel onto the frame of your bike. Does that make sense? You'll be seeing a little demo of me taking out the wheel further on in the workshop.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No, that's it for now. But if anyone does have any questions, pop them in the chat, or you can direct message me and we'll get them answered.
So like in the bike shop, when people bring their bikes to us, the most important part of that operation is like doing the assessment, and your ABC quick check. We're going to use that as a base for our assessment. We just basically ran over the bike really quickly. And we did an assessment on my bike. We found out I have a little bit of drivetrain issue. We will adjust that a little bit later. And we can use the ABC quick check as a basis to like inspect our bike even further. As you see up on the screen, those are some of the things we want to look for in your tire. The whole wheel, in fact, right? So what we want to look for, or you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to throw the bike up in the stand so people can see this a little bit better.
Do you want me to stop sharing the presentation, Ari? Would you prefer it to be?
That's fine.
And while you're there, we had a question about disc brake. So what is a disc brake for?
Pardon me?
What is a disc brake for?
What is a disc brake for?
Yeah, or like I think maybe it was just a general question about disc brakes. Like, what are they?
Disc brake is, you have two different kinds of brakes on my bike here. I don't know if you could see that. That's a rim brake right there. And I think we're going to be covering this in the next section as well. A disc brake has a disc that's attached onto your wheel, and that's how it stops. Instead of having the caliper here clamping on the wheel itself, on the rim itself here, you have it clamping on the disc, which is here.
Yeah.
We'll cover that a little bit deeper when we get into brakes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
When you're inspecting your wheels, let's start with the tire. It's the main contact patch between you and the road. So it's super important. You want to look on the top of it, right? Go all around. Check for any cuts, holes, like you see in that picture there in the top right-hand corner. You want to check the sidewall of your tire. See if there's any cuts, cracks, nicks, scratches. Like we see in the middle picture on the bottom row of the slide there. As far as rims go, so we take a quick inspection. Mine looks pretty good. It's pretty new, so I wouldn't expect anything to go wrong there. Next thing you want to do if you made sure your tire is good is you want to inspect the rim. If you do find anything like you see in those pictures, maybe time to upgrade those tires. A lot of tires have wear indicators. Mine don't exactly have them. So what you can also look for is there's treading on the tire. If that's like worn through, if you see green or a different color other than black or whatever color your tire is, that means it's worn through to the anti-puncture strip. Time to get new tires. Now we're going to move on to the rim, which is this part right here that the tire seats on. Okay, on the rim, we're going to go around and we're going to look for any cracks in the rim. They tend to happen where the nipples go in. This can also happen on your hub, which is in the which is where all the spokes run into. So take a quick look at those things as well. good idea to like give your spokes a little bit of a squeeze. Make sure they're tight. Make sure there's nothing loose, because that can run you into a whole bunch of trouble. And you know how we have the sidewall of the tire here? We also have the sidewall of the rim. This is a little rim that I got cut out. I don't know if you could see that really well, but you run your finger along the rim like this, right? And it should feel nice and flat. You should have a flat braking surface. If it's not flat, this one's a little bit concaved here. See that? How it's concave? Let me put a straight edge to it. Got a ruler here somewhere. Hold on for just a second. Maybe this will be easier for folks to see. I don't know if you could see that, but it's a little bit concave there. If when your rim gets concave, that means while you're on the road, it could crack and break. That's not too fun. So run your finger along there and do this for your front and your back, right? Just to see what's up there. So after you've looked at all that, it's a really good idea. Notice my brake calipers here. My wheel is fairly straight. What you want to be looking for, it's pretty straight. In fact, it's really straight. You're going to be looking for the deflection. It's going to like bang back and forth and rub on the brake pads if it's not straight. And if that's the case, your wheel will need something we call truing, which just basically means straightening the wheel so it's round again. That I would suggest taking to the bike shop unless you have your own truing stand. If you have a lot of experience truing wheels, you could try the flip your bike upside down thing, which I know many people do, and using your brake pads as a feeler gauge or adding sap straps. So that pretty much, I think, covers it. Oh, valve caps. I don't run them on mine. It's a good idea to have valve caps because it keeps everything clean. And I should mention one of the major things that keeps your bike from working well is having a dirty bike. So if you have a clean bike, it's going to be functioning much better than a dirty bike. I'm just going to grab a shop towel here. Excuse me. Let's see how dirty my bike is. So if you run a towel here, I usually use isopropyl alcohol to clean off the rims. Okay, let me just grab that. If you have an extremely dirty rim, you can use Brillo pads or something. I'm just going to do one side for demo purposes, and we'll see how much grit I get off my extremely clean bike here. Notice I start at that valve and I end at that valve. Check it out. With all this dirt off it, that brake will work a lot better. Thumbs up. And speaking of brakes, that was a great segue, wasn't it? Let's go to the brakes now. So as you can see from the picture here, are they working? Well, we figured out they were in our ABC quick check. And it says some other stuff about how things are damaged. So basically when you go and assess your braking system, you start at the lever here, right? And then you follow the cables that go along. That's not even my brake cable. That's my shift cable. So my cable is actually underneath my wrap here. Okay, and it comes up here to that front brake because that's my front lever right there, right? You can see I'm squeezing, it's moving. So my brake cable, as you can see, I'll move it a bit closer. It's undamaged. What I'm looking for is cuts, rust, pieces missing, cracks again. Okay, this is in really good condition. That's my cable housing there. Okay, and then we come to my barrel adjuster that's on my brake caliper. And then here, that's the cable that runs inside of the housing. I want to look for the same things. Any kind of corrosion, any kind of rust, any kind of fraying here. If there's fraying here, get it replaced. It's gonna more than likely snap at some unexpected point, and that's no fun to have no brakes, especially when you're going fast. So cool. Now we get down to my brake caliper here. This is my brake caliper here. Okay, that's what moves the clamp onto the rim of the bike, right? Brake caliper, what am I looking for? Same thing. I'm gonna shake the arms a little bit to see if there's any play. So I'm shaking it that way and back that way, okay? I'm doing that on both sides. If you find that's loose, that's something that needs to be tightening up. That's something that's beyond the scope of this workshop, but it's good to know these things. It's a good idea to like take it to the bike mechanic or look up a video or another online resource on how to tighten your brake caliper. Okay, no cracks, it's in great condition. Now we come down to these things right here. That's the brake pad right there. And what you might want to do is if you have a quick release on your brake, or you have V-brakes or cantilever brakes. I wonder how many people have disc brakes, V-brakes, cantilever brakes, side pull brakes like this. Throw those in the chat. What's your favorite kind of brake, you know? So I'm opening up my quick release lever here. You notice how the arms spread apart when I do that? Now I can see like in between my brake pads really well. Those, great condition. Let me show you some stuff that's not in great condition. Because I can't really move my camera, I can't hover it above and show you those are new, but this one right here, this one is not new. This one right here is new. Okay. See the differences? You see the one in my left hand or on the right side? It's at the right or the left of the screen, this new one right here. That's the left side of the screen, I believe. That's what you're seeing. This one's brand new. Notice it has teeth on it. That means it's brand new. There's nothing there. See, look at the teeth. This one, nothing there, nothing there. That's what I meant to say. This one, no teeth on this one, okay? And you see like on the surface of this one, there's all sorts of metal that come off the rim. It's very worn. This one, pretty dangerous to ride. There's a wear indicator line there. On most brake pads, they have them. Once you see it down to the wear indicator line, it means it's time for a change. Here's the wear indicator line on this one. It's hard to see. It's for your rim brake. For your disc brake, pads, what you're gonna have to do is you're gonna have to look in between your disc caliper, which is the thing the person's got the red Allen key into on the bottom right-hand picture, okay? You have to look through there from the front of the bike. Makes a lot of sense to do it that way. And this is a fairly new, kind of used disc brake pad. This thing is about, I'd say 3 millimeters. New ones are around 4 millimeters thick. This one right here, the red one, is absolutely worn. As you could see, there is nothing there. See how much thicker the one in my left hand is compared to the one in my right hand? This one, the red one, totally worn. This one, still good. Once you get down to the 2 millimeter, 1 millimeter mark, time to get those changed. I suggest it. It's a really good idea, especially if you do any North Shore riding, any mountain biking. So cool. Are there any questions about brake pads?
Yeah, we had a question about what the materials for the pads are.
The disc brake pads or the rim brake pads? I can feel them both. Rim brake pads are made out of rubber usually. There are different kinds of compounds of rubbers that they're made out of. Your rim brake pads or your disc brake pads are a little bit more complicated than that. I'd suggest reading some stuff about your disc or on your disc to find out, or on your system to find out like what kind of disc pad it uses. There are basically semi-metallic and there are organic disc brake pads in general. You just gotta find out what those are before you get new ones. It's a really good idea for when you go bike shopping, or bike part shopping, take your bike with you and ask the mechanics. And a little bit of an excerpt about disc brakes before we move on is what we need to do with disc brakes is we also need to check the rotors, okay? So the rotors here, this one is really worn. They're like around 1.7, 1.8 millimeters thick. This one's super worn. You can see a track around it. See that one? I think it's kind of hard to tell in the video, but it's really worn down. This part right here should be 1.7, 1.8 millimeters thick. This one is probably 1.5 millimeters thick. You could see there, I could feel there's a little lip there. Okay, and to alleviate a bit of confusion about where to check your disc brake pads, here's the rotor. This one's a broken one, but I think it'll get the job done. This is how it usually sits on your fork or your frame. Look through there. You'll see the pads in between there. This is your caliper. It clamps like that, just like the rim brake clamps on the rim to stop it. This disc brake caliper clamps on the rotor to stop it. Cool. When you clean your rotors, wipe them out with 99% isopropyl alcohol. If you notice any loud noises, good idea to clean them. Your pads might be contaminated, your rotors might be contaminated. If you clean your rotors, that's eliminating one part there. Okay, awesome. Any questions on disc brakes or rim brakes? Any other questions?
Just the time check area, we're about halfway through the webinar.
That was good. So handlebars. You want to make sure your handlebars are tight. And how they're trying to explain that in the slide is you just put your bike in between your knees here, give them a little push down. Make sure they don't move in the stem, which is what holds them up. This part right here, that's called the stem. Your stem may look a little bit different than mine. This is a threadless stem. You may have a threaded quill stem. Okay, give them a good twist side to side. Give them a good twist up and down. That way, this way, that way, that way. Mine are nice and tight, all good. If yours aren't super tight, you may want to position them, make sure they're even on both sides. Take an Allen key, tighten those bolts. On a quill stem, it'll be that bolt underneath. That's a quill stem. And for handlebars, a good general idea, if you're wondering if they fit, because we get this question a lot, is happen to have a spare pair right here. They'll be as wide as these bones on your shoulder. They should sit in between the width of those bars. These bars are just right for me. A little bit different, and with the current trends going along, I know this is a drop bar. With mountain bikes and flat bars, it's generally trendier these days to have a wider bar for more stability. Of course, the choice is up to you and what's comfortable to you. All right, excellent. So any questions on handlebars or stems? We're good? Cool, moving on, drivetrain.
We're all good on questions.
Sorry? All right, drivetrain time. This is gonna be really fun. So the drivetrain of your bike basically consists of, let me move this further back. Oh no, did I cut out? I touched my laptop.
No, you're all good.
Okay. So the drivetrain consists of this stuff, mostly your chain here and your cogs, okay? Derailleur, crank, chain wheel, okay? Or chain ring. There's lots of names for stuff. No standard on what anything's called. So I'm gonna go through this a bit quickly. I'm gonna try and like do it as evenly as I can, but we're gonna break it down into measuring, cleaning, oiling, or cleaning, oiling, and measuring as they have it on the slide I see there. So there's a tool called a chain checker. You see it from that slide. Looks like this. Basically, there's a 100% side and a 50% side, or a 75% side or 50% side. Depends on the manufacturer. This one's a Park Tool one. I'm gonna take it to the 50% side first. It has 50 and 75. Check it there. I'm more and less than 50%. I'm good. See how the tool's not falling in? I'll check it in multiple places because chains can wear differently. Now I'm gonna do the 75% side. It's not falling in, it's good. Not falling in, perfect. If it falls in, not good. This is like a $5 tool usually. Worth having, but what if you don't have one? We'll just shift that. Oh, look at that. If you don't have one and you pull your chain out, try and pull your chain away from your chain wheel. If it doesn't pull away easily, like that, does not pull away easily, it's good. If it does pull away super easily, say I'm just gonna hack it up, still doesn't pull away because this chain's too new. If it pulls away fairly easily, it's really slack. You're using very little effort to do it. Time to take your chain in and either get a replacement or take it into the shop. Okay. Another way we can do this is you take a ruler to it. It's about an inch measurement. I don't have an inch ruler. This is a centimeter. 2.5 centimeters is an inch, right? Anyways, it should be an inch from pin to pin. So you put them in the middle of the pins. It matches up. Actually find an inch one. Wow, I don't have an inch ruler. Well, anyways, from this pin to this pin, in the middle of those should be an inch. If you have one of these, that's an inch. Awesome. So one of the major things that, like, you'll feel it while you're riding. What do you need to do? If your chain is like gritty and grimy and makes that sound as you're pedaling, it doesn't feel good, right? What that does is that wears the little rollers within inside the chain, and that's where you get chain stretch from. When your chain stretches too much, it won't work well. It'll throw off stuff. Not good things will happen. How do we prevent that? Through prophylaxis. Just clean your chain. Good wipe, just like this. Or you can use your wheel. Good wipe. After every ride or whatever, make sure your chain will get clean. Fairly dirty chain I have. Also a good idea to clean these things, jockey wheels, while you're at it. Just watch the towel getting caught. I'm using a shop towel here. Just use a rag. I probably shouldn't use these for this. They're super expensive, but it's what I got right now. All right. There are also stuff you can get, like chain cleaners, as you see right here. They open up. What you do is you open them up You put your degreaser in there. You put your, I like to use 99% isopropyl alcohol. You put your thing in there. If you're using degreaser, I also like to add a good hit of hot water in there as well. That'll help. Put it there, spin, chain through it. Either use your crank, use the back of the wheel. I did that for a bit later when we adjust our gears. Anyways, use your crank, have this on there. Run it backwards with this. Run the wheel backwards, works really good either way. After you've done that, rinse it off. If you have soap or any other residue on there, it needs to come out before you can oil your chain. And it needs to be dry as well. Did I see a question there?
Yes, you did. Someone said, how often should we clean our chain and grease it?
Well, you know what? You're supposed to do it after every ride, but you're really awesome if you do it once every week. I don't do it that often, to be honest with you, because I got stuff to do. But what I do is if I do a really hard ride, like an all-day ride, like a 250K ride or above, I definitely take the next day and give my bike some love. So every week, you're awesome. Does that make sense?
That's great, thank you.
All right, now we got our chain cleaned. We got it dry. We rinsed off all the soap residue. You don't have to if you use isopropyl alcohol. We're gonna lube it. And I can't find my closed bottle of lube, so I guess I'll use this. Oh, here it is. Oh, no, it's not. All right, so there's lots of different bicycle specific lubes. This is Finish Line. I don't know, I just have it because I can't find my wax lube, which would be ideal because this bike uses wax lube. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna find the master link. It's the one that's gonna look different. Unless this is a Shimano chain. But I know it's not because I replaced it. Here's our master link right there. Okay, it looks different. We're gonna start there. We're gonna put 1 drop of oil on each link. I'm using my seat stay to brace myself as I do this, and I'm gonna go all around. And I'm gonna finish right where I started, at that master link. So now our chain's lubed, but we're not done. We need to wait for that lube to soak in. This over here is a chain link. Okay, those little rollers. You want this lube to get inside those little rollers. So we're gonna let it soak. Longer the better. 5 minutes is adequate. 15 minutes is a lot better. Overnight's awesome. But sometimes I forget to wipe off the excess if I leave it for overnight. After we let it soak for a bit, we'll just pretend 15 minutes went by, 20 minutes, what have you. We'll take our handy dandy rag again. We're gonna grab it. We're gonna start wiping off the chain like so. Be careful of your fingers when you do this. No fun to get a thumb caught in there or there. And you wanna go all around until that chain is not so oily on the outside, but all the lube has seeped inside these chain rollers. And that will ensure less wear, less friction goes on your chain, and it'll last much longer, give you a smoother ride. Awesome. So any questions on, sorry?
No, I was just asking if you want me to share the next slide. We have got one question. Someone said grease or oil, which I assume is like referring, yeah, which one should you use on your bike?
Or oil? Well, chain oil. Chain oil, definitely oil, light oil. You don't want to use grease. Grease is super thick. This would be grease. It's way too thick. That'll gum up your drivetrain and pick up dirt, which it's great you asked that question, actually, because that just reminded me. I'm sure I missed a lot of stuff, as I do, but another reason why we want to wipe off the excess on the outside of our chain is if we don't, that light oil is going to pick up a lot of road dirt and grit, and it's going to gum up your drivetrain, and it'll be harder to pedal, and it won't be as fun. So that's another reason why we want to wipe it down. Bike-specific chain lubes are really good to use. There's a lot of other stuff you can find online that people use for this. I started using dry wax myself. I guess not recently anymore, but yeah, I like dry wax a lot. I use wet wax. I use this finish line stuff. I use Tri-Flow. You just got to experiment around until you find the one you like, you know? So cool. Any other questions?
Someone's just messaged me saying, can we cover gears, which actually works out very well because that's our next topic.
Sorry?
Someone's just direct messaged me saying, can we cover gears and shift, which works out very well because that's our next topic.
Yes, it is. And that's why I turned my bike around that way. And that's why my drivetrain doesn't work very well, because I kind of wrecked it for this little demo here. So basically, we've all had this, right? Where our gears don't shift like 100% proper, where they're like, let's wreck this one even more, actually. Where like our gears throw off the derailleur, which I'm not getting this bike to do very well. There we go. It won't shift down to that one where the chain comes off and gets caught in between here. Not fun things. Excuse me. So basically, what you have to worry about on here, and I know it's really hard for you guys to see the screws. Can you all see the screws? Here, I'll get another one.
Yeah, I can.
So it's like a little bit closer. And I'll grab this Ultegra one. So yeah, I have a bunch of parts lying around in my shop, but we're gonna worry about like what's called limiting screws and talk about limit screws, which are these screws right here. I think you could see that a little bit better, right? That screw and that screw. Okay, we're going to talk about the B screw a little bit, and we're going to talk about the barrel adjuster. So basically your big settings are done with your limit screws. They limit the movement of your derailleur here, okay? They limit that movement because the derailleur, oops, a derailleur moves like this, correct? It's a really good idea. I'll turn the bike this way to check your spring tension as well. My spring tension is great. If your spring tension is not good, time to take it in to the bike shop. Ask the mechanic if you need a new one. Okay. So basically, my bike's not shifting down to this one, okay? This is the high limit screw. High limit screw usually has an H beside it or a high beside it, or it's usually the one on top, but it's different with different derailleurs with different manufacturers. What I'm gonna do is, I can't shift down to that one, is I'm gonna use my limit screw to help me fix that, okay? I'm just gonna do that. I'm gonna turn it to the outside until it falls on there eventually. There we go. And what we're looking for is to adjust this screw so this cog lines up with that pulley. Okay? Really good idea to have it on your big chain ring when you do this. All right? And one more note, we always adjust the rear before we do the front. Okay, so we've done our high. It's pretty good. It doesn't fall off. I can test this with my hand, like that. I can test it with the shifter. Oh, still not doing it. Still not doing it. I got my general adjustment right. It's pretty good. I'm gonna use my barrel adjuster to help me fine tune. So this is your big tune. This is your fine tune. You turn it towards the way you want the chain to move. That's the barrel adjuster, okay? So we just covered the barrel adjuster and the high limit screw. We're gonna go to the low limit screw now. So that one, you shift it from the front down to your smallest ring, and we shift in the back, the shifter, your largest cog. As you see here, you want them to line up again. I think this one's, that's great, straight up and down. That's awesome. Again, if it's not shifting down, okay, we're gonna use the barrel adjuster. We're gonna turn it towards the way we want the chain to go. If it's not shifting up, I'm gonna turn it that way, okay? Does that make sense? Limit screws front, rear before front first. Limit screws before the barrel adjuster. I'm gonna quickly touch on the D-limit screw. The D-limit screw is this screw here, okay? And what that does, it's basically for the large cog, okay? If I turn this B screw in or out, what it's gonna do is it's gonna move my derailleur effectively this way, okay? And these teeth right here of the cog and the teeth right here in the jockey wheel could rub together when I do that. When I turn it in, it pushes the derailleur away. Let's use that. It pushes the derailleur away from the biggest cog. And what we want is for it to be as close as possible, pretty much like that without touching. So there you see, does not contact at all. Works great. We want to try all our gears after we're done tuning, right? Works great. Awesome. So now, if you can't with the limit screws and the barrel adjuster, if you can't get it working, there might be a problem with your mech or your derailleur itself. You want to check that the jockey wheels are in line. Let's see. You want to check if these are in line, okay? If they're straight up and down. Sometimes these cages here, the cage here, that gets bent. When that gets bent, it won't work right, okay? Also, the thing that the derailleur screws into, the hanger, that gets bent a lot. That's very common. If it gets bent, it's time to take it into the shop and see what you could suss out about like having that repaired. You can try and bend it back, but chances are it doesn't work right. You need a specialty tool for that. I have one in that drawer, but I won't run over there and pull it out. You just make sure this is straight. How you can tell is that line compared to your cog. Let's shift up so you can see. You compare the straightness of this line right here on your hanger to like that cog right there. A cog should be straight. This line right here on that lock ring, that should be straight up and down. If you notice it's bent inwards, you're not going to get good shifting. Good time to take it into to see your mechanic or look up some videos and try and fix it that way. Maybe invest in some $100 tool, up to you.
Ari, just a quick time check. We have about 10 minutes left and we've still got to go through the seat saddle and the gear kit.
Thanks, Lillian. So with the front shifting, it's just like the rear shifting. You have two limit screws up here and here. Your barrel adjuster might be located at your brake lever or at your shift pod in the front, but it works the same way. You have low limit, high limit. You want a dime space in between here and here. The teeth and the lowest part of the highest point of the tooth and the lowest point of the derailleur. A dime space. You want the derailleur to be straight. If you see it's crooked, time to take it into the bike shop. So I'll leave it at that for now. And we will go into saddle adjustment. And we'll bring up this bike for that. Really important to have the right height on a saddle. If you have the wrong height on a saddle, what can happen? You can have injured knees. You give yourself back pains, all sorts of pains. How do you adjust the saddle? What's the right height? Basically, I use the knee over the spindle method, which is where you put the ball of your foot in the center of your pedal, and the heel of your foot in the middle of the pedal, and it should be a straight leg down. Look it up. It's called KOPPS. But our focus today is about how to adjust it. Some of you might have a quick release. Some of you may have a hex bolt here holding it in to loosen your saddle. I have a quick release on this one. I just open it up and it goes up and down. You can adjust it to whatever height you want. When you close that quick release, again, check it, make sure it's tight. Everybody knows that. What some people may not know, there's a bolt under here. It's usually an Allen bolt. You just loosen it. And there are different systems, but every saddle should be able to adjust backwards and forwards, and it should be able to tilt up and down. Okay. You just have to try what works for you. But sometimes this bolt is loose and you gotta readjust your saddle and tighten it up. Make sure you get a good tight on it. Okay. Lefty loosey, righty tighty. That's with most things on the bike. Some things are reverse threaded. Right, after you tighten it up, give it a good check, make sure it doesn't move. That moved. And tighten up a bit more. There we go. That's good. Nice and solid. Shake it up and down too. Great. Works really well. So awesome. If I missed anything there, I went through that a bit quick. We do have a video we will send around covering all that.
Yeah, we have a few videos on different things, but this is one of them and we'll send them around on.
Awesome. So next up is the drop test. And we already went over the drop test. Pick up the bike, drop it. If we hear any weird sounds, we're gonna follow that sound, okay? It could be a loose accessory bolt or something. You need to suss that out and tighten it. That's the whole purpose of the drop test. Any questions so far?
Yeah, we had a few, but I thought we could cover the content and then ask the questions at the end.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah, perfect.
Thanks for being patient, folks. Let's go to the next slide now, which is the basic toolkit. Okay, there's a lot of stuff on here. I'll give you my 2 cents on it really quickly. Tire levers, or tire spoons as they call them. Really good idea. I don't know if you need 3. 2 is all I ever needed. Spare tube, great idea. Patch kit, great idea. Pump, awesome idea. Multi-tool, awesome idea. Lock skewer key, essential if you have locking skewers instead of quick releases. Rags, you got a shirt. Rags are a great idea, but you don't necessarily need them. Emergency lights, great idea. You don't necessarily need them. Bungee cords and zap straps, so useful, but you don't necessarily need to carry them on you. An adjustable wrench, also a great idea, especially if you have bolt-on wheels, because you need to get that wheel out to get your tube fixed, right? Transit pass card, awesome idea. You can transit with your bike, right? Also carry credit cards. Oh, and here we go. Perfect segue. Multimodal transportation. It's really good stuff. I've used it before. If we go to the next slide, as I remember, it's a pretty funny slide. Buses, always 2 per buses. Sea buses, 6 per sailing anytime. I've seen a lot more than that. I've seen like 13 or more bikes on the sea bus. West Coast Express, never been on it. I don't know anything about it. but 2 per cart at any time. Sounds good to me. SkyTrain is 1 bike per car allowed on the Canada line. I don't know, I've seen 5 or 6 bikes in each cart before. Keep in mind, westbound from 7 to 9 a.m., you can't exactly like, well, it goes with rush hour, right? You can't put your bike on the SkyTrain then. Same thing with rush hour going the other way, which is 4 to 6 p.m. Okay, bike racks. Awesome. There's these places down there you see, Main Street, North Van, City Hall Plaza, Production Way, Moody Center. They have mock racks set up by their stations where you can just practice putting your bike onto the bus. And if you ask the bus drivers when they're taking a break, sometimes they're really nice and they show you how. Or sometimes they can be grumpy. Depends on the day, I guess. E-bikes on the bus. Awesome. That bike right there, the Sasquatch just demoed the seat thing on, that's an e-bike. It weighs like 60 pounds. You do have a weight limit at 55 pounds to put on that bus rack. A good way to lighten up your e-bike, take out your battery. Scooters, not allowed. And if it doesn't fit on the rack, if you have like a really odd shaped wheeled bike or really small wheel bike, doesn't work either. So fixing a flat, we're getting to this one. I'm gonna do a really quick demo. All right, step 1, release the brakes. Step 2, let's put that to our smallest gear. Step 3, quick release off. Step 4, move your derailleur out of the way, unhook the chain. Got your tire out, you got your wheel out, I mean. I'm just gonna have to pretend here. Oh no, it's flat. And let me get some good space here. What I'm gonna do on this one, this particular one, this is a press the valve, okay? It's the skinny one. Sometimes you have Schrader valves. They're the more plump ones, like the ones on car tires. We unscrew this ring right there. Make sure you don't lose it. Put that off to the side. What you wanna do, valve reference, pinch right here. I don't know if you can see that. Pinch that tube, pull it off to the side. Get your tire lever or your tire spin. Notice I only use 2. You're gonna hook it behind your spoke. They have these little hooky things. Okay, gonna move to the next one. Hook it again. Next one. Take that first lever out. Okay, I'm gonna pinch, pull it to the side, hook it again. Okay. You'll notice it's gonna start to come out slightly. You'll get a lip right there. Okay. Tire lever falls out. That's a good sign. Now I can turn it over and cut. All right. Now notice I'm not going to remove the tube all the way. I'm going to pull it out a little bit. At this point, grab my floor pump because my CO2 inflators too hard to get to right now. So you want to take your emergency pump. We'll pretend this is my big red emergency pump. I'm going to pump it up. And part of my kit, actually, I carry a Sharpie with me. Boom. Now that I have it pumped up, I can check for the leak. I'm going to put it against my face because it's sensitive there. Okay, I'm going to find where it's leaking. I don't know if you could see it, but you can circle where it's leaking. If you're going for a patch. And also, I didn't take the tube out because we see where I circled, and I can check there to see if there's any thing that's left in there that caused a puncture, a sharp piece of metal, glass, whatever. Because there's no sense in patching or replacing the tube if you're just going to get a flat again. So let's pretend I got a new tube. Boom, new tube. what I suggest you do when you do install a new tube is you inflate it part way like this. Grab the tire. We'll double check all around to see if there's anything sharp in there. Okay, I'm checking all around. Nope, I'm good. Nothing sharp. Find the valve hole. Gonna pull that back. Install the tube. Roll it forward. Tuck the tube all the way into the tire. It's still on the rim. At this point, I'm going to let some of the push that valve in. I'm going to start tucking the bead of the tire into that rim. All right. And then I'm going to grab a tire lever. Any tube sticking out, I'm shoving it back in. All right, can you all see me? Let some air out if you have to, especially on a road tire. And at this point, roll it back on, okay? If you're having trouble rolling it back on, put it against the ground, massage the tire towards the lip. It'll make it easier. And we'll have a video on that. And then after that, your new tube is installed, pump it up, put it back in. To put it back in, simply find the chain, hook it up with your last cog, just like that. Okay. Make sure that seats in. Quick release on. Quick release on your brake. Close. Double check. Do it on the ground. Open your quick release. Close it again. What that does is it seats the axle in between the dropouts of your frame. That was my tire demo. Really quick. Sorry about that.
That's great. We'll also send videos around.
Yep, there will be lots of videos. And I think we're out of time, aren't we? But
yeah, I'm just going to share our last slide about when to visit a mechanic. And then we can answer questions.
Awesome. That is my friend Lindsay there. They are a bike mechanic at Side Saddle, I think, right now. And when you visit a mechanic, I think I've along the way said some of the reasons why you want to like visit a mechanic, or given some examples of like when you can't fix something, you don't know how to fix it, or there's a specialty tool involved. I really encourage people to try bike mechanics. I think it's great. I think it's really fun and rewarding to work on your own bike. I love it myself. But yeah, these are some of the reasons up here why you want to do it. After the first few weeks of riding a new bike, why? Because you get warranty, and also because everything has to go into place after you ride that bike and set it into place. So taking it back to the shop to get it like tuned up, and it's usually free. You got to go and get all the bolts tightened and everything else. And questions?
We'll do questions at the end, but just very quickly, some things up next. We run a free streetwise cycling online course. So anyone interested can do this course in their own free time, and it's totally free for access. You can just find it on our website. And then we also do a similar course, but for young people. So that's a great way to get children, it's kind of age between 9 and 12, interested in cycling. And now we'll do questions. But before, if people are going shortly, then just a reminder to do our survey. We'll send out in the next couple of days, and it really helps us with getting future funding for programs like these, so we can offer free webinars to the general public. So I will start asking questions that people have answered. People have asked, sorry. So the first one was about a bike stand. Someone was asking, what type of bike stand do you have? Is it expensive? Should you look for a weight limit, and kind of what to look for?
You mean my mechanic stand in the back?
Yeah.
I forgot how much that one costs, but that's a Park Tool stand. I have on order right now, whenever they decide to ship it to me, a Feedback Sports one. It's the Feedback Pro Elite model. That is like $600 something plus tax. I hope it gets to me sometime soon. Really looking forward to it. I think it's a better stand. Park Tool stands are great. I would stay away from the Alibaba, Amazon type bike stands. They just don't last. So that's my advice. They're worth the money if you're doing it like, all the time, or doing it as a profession, or you have a lot of extra income to get the professional stands. The feedback ones I feel are a good price. They have home mechanic models as well. So does Park Tool.
Great. And then another question was, if there's a dirty chain, would it pop out? Is that like a common thing of a dirty chain?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
I was asking, will a dirty chain cause it to like pop out of the, I'm guessing it's like for the chain to come off.
Oh, okay. With the chain coming off, I actually made the chain come off on the front one by adjusting the limit screws. That's a limit screw thing usually. It could be because your chain wheels are warped, and that in conjunction with not an adjusted derailleur can pop your chain off. These things, they should come straight from the factory, but sometimes they go a little bit wobbly. That often, there's a lot of reasons that a chain would pop off, but those are kind of the main ones. If you have a bent tooth, that can do that too. But that's one of those things you have to really suss out. Bike mechanics are great if you know any to help you suss those things out.
Great. And then someone was asking, what's the best way to maintain your bike cables?
Your bike cables. Clean them often. Have these little end caps here. So you have a little red anodized one on here. Put these little end caps on them. They'll keep the ends from fraying. Clean them often. Use good stainless steel ones. Teflon if you want. But that's the best way to maintain your cables. They will wear. They are a consumable part. So eventually they'll wear.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I guess everything does. And then a final question was just to share the bike seat sizing method. But Ari, I'll ask you about that at the end, and we'll share it in the email. So
that sounds good.
Written down.
I know that was a little bit extra.
Yeah, it's always good to know. Is there any other questions before we end this webinar? Feel free to either unmute yourself and ask them, or to post them in the chat. Just give people a few seconds to do that. And just a reminder, oh yes, that was a good question. Sorry, I missed that question. Thank you, Manuel. There was a question about whether someone has a pain in their shoulder and whether that could be to do with the handlebar placing.
That probably has more to do with, in a way, you're absolutely right. That does have to do with handlebar placement. That has a lot more to do with bike fit. If you have too small a bike, that can happen. If you have too big a bike and you're reaching too far, that can happen. That's a bike fit thing, and it's something you basically, if you have a road bike and you have a low position, that's something you have to really train to do. Otherwise, you'll be having like a lot of neck and shoulder pain.
That's really
I don't
good.
know if that answered it.
No, that was helpful. I found it helpful. Yeah, so we'll wrap that up. I just saw one more question about a workshop on e-bikes, and actually we've been running workshop e-bikes throughout the summer. They've now finished, but if you email streetwise@bikehub.ca, I can send you a recording of any webinar actually, but if you're looking for the e-bikes one, feel free to email me. We'll stop it there. Thank you so much to Ari. That was I feel like I learned. But thank you so much for that demonstration. It was really useful to see all that in more detail. And just a reminder as well, we'd really appreciate if you complete our survey. We'll send it out at the end, and we'll also send lots of links that we talked about today, and lots of videos that we talked about today, and yeah, and also the recording of the whole webinar. So thanks so much, everyone, and have a great afternoon and rest of your week.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Do you still want to show that COPS method? Anyone sticking around?
The seat sizing one?
Yeah, the seat sizing one.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, yeah, I mean, we can.
I do. Just really quickly.
Sure. People can feel free to stay on, or you can head off. We'll listen to the recording either way.
All right. I'm sorry.
No, I was just going to say, continue. I was just saying to participants, feel free to log off. We'll send this full recording out to everyone. But if you want to stay on for a bonus seat sizing one, then please feel free to stay around.
Yeah, audio sometimes cuts out on my end. Okay, the seat sizing thing. This is the COPS method. It's a really traditional method, and it gets you to where you generally want to be. Of course, these things have to be fine-tuned. Okay, so basically, put your seat somewhere where you think is the right height. I believe that's the right height for me. Could be really wrong. Find something to hold on to. I'm going to use this right here. And what you're going to do is you're going to put your pedal to the 6 o'clock position here, right? Okay, that's all the way down, lowest position. Here we go. You can put your heel over it. And you're going to grab onto your object and sit on the seat. Now, I don't know if you can see this, but my leg is straight right now. If there's a bend in it where I find it's really uncomfortable for me to touch my heel to the pedal, I gotta adjust my seat. If it's like uncomfortable, my heel can't touch the pedal, then I gotta lower it. Okay, if my knee's too bent, my knee's not bent at all. If my knee's bent at all, I gotta raise the saddle. Okay, that way, when you put the ball of your foot over the pedal spindle, that gives you somewhat of the correct bend in your knee. Okay, it's going to be different for everyone. Just like saddle positioning is different for everyone. So we all have different bodies. And boom, that's your cops method.
Amazing. That was very easy to demo, so thank you. We'll end the workshop now, but thank you so much again, everyone, for coming. And if you think later on in the day, or I wish I'd asked a question that we didn't cover, then feel free to send it to streetwise@bikehub.ca, and we can try and get your questions answered.
And apologies for taking a bit on stuff. I hope everyone had a good time.
That's okay. I think it was pretty concise, so we did good. Okay, I'll end the webinar now, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.
Okay, bye everyone. Thanks again. Peace.